guys, it's Me to Not Obey, and let's get into another video. Now, I am reading the Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Walls. I will be reading some from the book and some from my notes due to copyright. You guys should know that by now. So let's get into chapter 17, The Summer Portal and the Spiritual Education. The summer portal was a success since the custodians were not noticing our presence while entering the lands for several years. The whole group and even Butler were forbidden to enter. By the order of the Hill, who considered that if they found us there, not only would they put an end to our lives, but they would try to get information from us using any means. And the whole plan would run a serious risk. Excuse me, as we said, the plan had to be perfect or not exist at all, because a failed plan was assured a reset. The years went by, and the plan of the spiritual awakening of the human being in the known lands had been increasing and was developing in a correct and safe way. The teachers who entered through the mentioned portal were able to carry out the teachings of the form of education and that any child received here in these lands, prioritizing the importance of the human soul, unconditional love, and empathy. Y'all hear anything in the background? I'm sorry, I'm washing clothes. Unfortunately, as we imagined, certain black hands begin to notice around these teachings, confusing the human being and causing many to move away. These three great premises begin to be corrupted as well as to become a cruel business. But as I said before, there were other plans to supplement the others when these things begin to get dark. It was a consistent struggle for us not to be discovered, but neither should we let the plans fall into the hands of the custodians completely. It was time now to carry out another plan that would bring consequences. A navigator and faithful friend would arrive from these lands with a vessel built here simulating the time of that moment and would tell his story to the world. He would reveal major issues that needed to be known for those who wanted to listen. An Arctic passage between walls of ice, discovery of other lands. The ancestral lands will be named for the first time in the history of this humanity. The story would be intermingled with themes of the time, both economic and social, for its apprehensions. We knew that the system created, based on the strong scientific conditioning, it would not be an easy task. The ancestral navigator spent some time in a well-known harbor within the ice walls, where he showed the curious a lot of real information in the ancestral lands and the human past, including about the giant humans. Before the story was published, a lot of information was manipulated and the story came out half-baked, being quite confusing and leaving several important points unmentioned. The author ended up disappearing and being locked up. My faithful friend returned urgently to the lands as this would draw the attentions of the custodians, who would seek by all means to understand how this information had been leaked. While they were confident in their manipulation, they would seek other means to dissuade him. And we knew that a not-so-friendly visit was expected that could come from either the known lands, custodial, or the Anunnaki. The custodians avoided us again, and this made us stronger. The giant humans, as Butler once remarked, would sooner or later give their help. And great technology was again shared. And with this, we were again ahead of the custodial advance. Let's get into these notes, folks. So in this silent war, the custodians, for one, they trained and used the human being to match their technology. 2, this would bring consequences to humans because we were not prepared to use such advanced technologies. 3. Along with deadly plagues and wars the custodians created for their enjoyment, because they did not want us to be free. And the ones that were trying to free us were punished by having to watch us suffer because they were trying to help us. So every time they would come and try to help us, that's when we'll get some type of plague or war get started or just something like earthquakes. Like every time we get this catastrophic, I said it, stuff, normally this is people coming in and out of the ice walls. I'm just saying. Human expedition to the Antarctic started. Now, because they tried to help us, this is when they started funding the Antarctic. Powerful leaders and families were able to come together, and their goal was to focus on corrupting the education for the new human generations. So those that already know about the ice walls, the crossing of the ice walls, how to get in and out of the ice walls, or knowing if there is a way to get out the ice walls, they were making sure that in this new generation, this new birth of people, this new reset, they wouldn't even think that anything existed out of what they have. Or you can confuse them by telling them about aliens, which aren't out of this world either. They're interdimensional beings. Space is not up in the sky. It's in the damn ocean. Mars is outside of the ice wall. There's a planet called Mars. That's where they've been going. They've never been going out of the dome. Please. So they created space. So they created the space station. And everybody knows what the space station is. It's NASA. And NASA is what? Not a space agency. But this was created to distract the people. They did not want us to think that there could be possible lands behind the ice wall. So what did they do? They end up burying it. They also created bases, which we still have to this day, all around the Antarctic zone. And this was to ensure that we could not get out and they could not get in. The custodians also discovered the summer portal. And this was the first portal they figured that they were able to get into, remember? The custodians took it as a game. Of course they did. So they wanted to demonstrate their good old power. So once they figured out that they found the summer portal, they were pissed. And then they wanted to have fun. So let's pick up the book and see where we go from there. A few years before the custodial attack on our lands called Operation High Jump. This is why I wanted to read. Let's start over. A few years before the first custodial attack on our lands called Operation High Jump, by means of a large number of human soldiers and custodial technology, the media barely mentioned it, but it was one of the biggest moves made by any military force. Largest movement by any military force in history of the new humanity. The leader was known as who, guys? Richard Admiral Byrd. Hello, come on. Remember, he went to the senator. Now, the leader was known as Richard Admiral Byrd, and he was using several missions to come to our other lands. But in the official mission, he would never reach our specific lands, although his attack could endanger our people, both us and the Anakim. Had no intentions of attacking them, but to make them withdraw their armed forces in a peaceful way. The Anakim masters talked several times with the leader, but another force entered the conflict, and the great battle was fought just behind the first dome. So Admiral Byrd went to hurt people. A lot of people did. Then the same leader would make contact several times with the Anakim masters and would also help us carry out the plan of human awakening within the known lands, becoming an infiltrator for a while, eventually by choice or obligation. This changed dramatically as we were informed the military leader delivered valuable and secret information of the Anakim technology, and was the first of the group of the new humanity to be sent to Mars in recognition of his work. Attacking us with other human beings was one of the many perverse strategies of the enemy. It was their way to demonstrate their power and make us face our past. Since we sought to liberate it and not to confront them and observe battles that we were defending by mere conditioning. We knew that all this game that they were carrying out would end abruptly by their way of acting. We were going to continue gaining ground in this awakening, and they would start attacks within the environment with the different techniques as always. Natural disasters, pandemics, wars between nations, etc. Those academic books that until now seemed untouchable began to be strongly questioned, and the entire academy began to reel from the possibility of another model. The Terra Infinita would begin to emerge and would be the ultimate plan that would give way to the final liberation attempt. In chapter 17. Let's go back real quick, because I did want to touch on this. Now, it did bring up Admiral Byrd, which I've read the book. A lot of y'all, if y'all haven't read it, go read the book where he goes to the center of the earth. He meets these giant beings. They were very peaceful. They wasn't trying to hurt him. Keep in mind, he went to one specific land. He didn't get to go to all the 120, maybe 70 plus worlds that are out there. He only went to one, can't even get it out. He only went to one specific land. There we go. Now think about it. 2, after everybody started recognizing that there were lands outside the ice wall, what did they do? They created NASA, which is not a space agency. And then they said that what? They started taking trips to space, saying that we're going to the moon. That was just a distraction. They went to Mars, but Mars is outside of the ice wall. There is a land. There are maps. It's called the land of Mars, the land of Venus. All these places are not up there. They're outside of the ice wall. There's nothing up there. Nothing. If anything, it's either probably spirits in space and the grid to keep us trapped. You got to go down to get out sometimes. And sometimes you got to go through the side. But it ain't up. It's down or to the side. Up don't get you nowhere. I'm telling you, that's how I feel. They distracted us by saying that now we're going to start taking trips to space. They took our eyes from here, looking down at everything that we see in front of us that we could touch, get to, and possibly find. And now they got us looking up at a fake existence, fake holograms, fake shuttle missions as we know, fake moon landings as we know, fakety, fuckety fuck. So, hope you guys did enjoy chapter 17. And like I always say, do not obey. Stay woke. Peace.